Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for coming out to the Water Conservation 101 workshop, also called Every Drop Counts. I want to thank the City of Martinez for inviting me to do this workshop and being forward-thinking with their resolution to conserve water through the voluntary request of a 15% reduction. And I'd like to thank the Contra Costa Water District for participating in this meeting and providing a lot of background information and a lot of free resources. So let's get started here. Every drop counts. Obviously, that's what we're here for, is to learn about water conservation. It seems pretty straightforward. Most of us have some skills at saving water. The idea here is to empower you with more information and more reasons why to take the time to take on a new practice or use that practice or take on a new action and employ these over and over again. Because a little drop doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. So that's the whole point. In the beginning, there was the earth, and it was good. And Adam and Eve came along, and boy, they had a good recipe, a real good recipe. Because now we're up to 7.2 billion plus people and counting. And with that, we have a strong desire for water, to drink it, to get rid of it. And it comes at a price, though. It's not endless. And right now, we're running low on water. And so that's really the background for this workshop, is the fact that there's a drought. And right now, I'd like to invite Chris Dundon up here to start out this workshop with kind of the background on the legislation and the request from the governor.
Back in January, the governor declared a statewide drought emergency. This is after several years of drier than normal precipitation, especially up in the mountains. On January 17th, he declared the emergency, and he was calling on all citizens, as well as water districts, to conserve water. He extended that in April 25th, 2014, asking for specifically a 20% reduction statewide. And in fact, this has even gone further. You're going to see an additional request from the State Water Resources Control Board. So voluntary reductions were requested. So Contra Costa Water District, on April 1st, our board adopted a resolution asking for a 15% reduction, and this is a voluntary reduction. Soon after that, the City of Martinez asked for the same reduction, so that we're in concert. Contra Costa Water District is the wholesale water supplier for City of Martinez, if you didn't know. Now you might be asking, well, why did we ask for a 15% voluntary when we're in a pretty big crisis here? Contra Costa Water District got its water supply, as I say, from the USBR, and two major things changed in the last 15 years, and both of them are attributable to you customers. Number one, customers are demanding less than they ever have been at Contra Costa Water in our whole service area. And secondly, if you remember, in the last 5 years, we expanded our reservoir, and we have more storage than we did before. So we need a reduction this year. It's a serious issue. But that's why you see it as a voluntary reduction, because we have some in reserves for next year. So where does our water come from? It comes out of the tap, right? It's just magical and comes out. Well, actually, it comes from Sierra snowmelt. The biggest reservoir we have in the state is the snowpack up in the Sierra. Think of it as a big tank up there, and it holds the water, and then during the spring and summer, it lets it out down the rivers a little bit at a time. This year, there's not very much up there. This year, the snowpack is much smaller than it's ever been. Water comes down the main rivers. Sacramento and the San Joaquin are the two biggies that come into what's called the Delta. That's our water supply. So Contra Costa Water District gets our water supply straight out of the Delta. We have a couple of intakes. We pump it into our system. It either goes straight to treatment or it goes up into our reservoir called Los Vaqueros. And this is what I was talking about. We expanded that reservoir in the last 5 years. So we started this year, January 1st, with more water in storage than we've ever had. But it still doesn't mean we can't conserve more, because next year could be bad and we're really going to be in a bigger crisis. How much water do you think the average single-family home in Contra Costa service area uses during the summer? So say gallons per day in the summer. Throw out a guess. 100. So she says 100 gallons per household. 579 gallons per day. Think about how much that is. 579 gallons per day going out into the landscape or through your home. I'm going to leave this off to Todd to continue on, and that just kind of gives you an idea of how much water we're using. So there's a lot of areas we can save, and now we're going to talk about some of those areas.
Well, let's talk about some numbers. There's a lot of numbers included in this presentation because I think it's important to understand, just like that quiz was kind of surprising to most of us how much we use during the summer. I want to give the statewide data points and then local data points, the information provided by the water district here. So this is the state of California. On average, we're using 418 gallons per day. About 47% of that is indoor use, 175. 53% is outdoor use, 243. Okay. Now the numbers for the county are a little bit better. 364 gallons per day. Now that's throughout the year average. Higher in the summer, we just went over that 579, and much lower in the winter at under 200 at 190. I'm using a different percentile. The data that I'm citing here today comes from a really robust report. If you have sleep issues, it's 288 pages with all kinds of graphs and gory details and bibliographies, all kinds of stuff. But I've been reading that for the past 3 weeks to really get the numbers right for this presentation. And that's where, just the point is, that's where all the data is from. So here's how much water we're using in number of gallons per year. Think about this. 132,860 gallons. Okay, a gallon of water weighs 8.3 pounds, and we're using 132,000 plus of these. Everybody's familiar with a 55-gallon drum, right? We've seen these, okay? What's interesting is this is what 15% diversion equals, is 55 gallons a day. Ironically, that number of 364 that I showed you a few minutes ago, if you take 15% of that, it equals 55. And this was purely coincidental because we changed the numbers around and it was a different number, but that's your goal. Each and every one of you, your goal is 55 gallons a day. However you get there, we don't really care, but get there. Right now, though, we're all using 6.5 of these every day. Imagine that, 6.5. Imagine if you had to have a truck come over, beep, 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 here comes the truck, and they drop off 55-gallon drums, and then they come in the next day and drop off. It's kind of crazy when you start to try to envision physically the amount of water that we're consuming on a daily level, or on an annual level for that matter. So I want to put that in. So there's your target, 55 gallons a day, 23 indoor, and 32 outdoor. Again, we're not too concerned how you get there. We're going to spend the first part of this presentation on indoor water, and then we're going to go outside and talk about outdoor use and consumption. So there again, 1 drum a day is what we're asking, which works out to be 20,000+ gallons you can save. That's what so by just eliminating one of those drums, you're going to save over 20,000 gallons. So it doesn't seem like much, but it all adds up. Like every drop counts. So here's who's using the water. We always want to find out, blame it on someone else. Well, in this case, it's us. Residential is using over 50%. In fact, 52% of the water consumed is residential. So that's where the opportunity really exists. A little over 26% is from commercial, industrial, and institutions. So another pop quiz. Which of the following uses the most water in the household? Can you read that? Toilets, dishwater, my teenager, now that's really Chris's teenager, and lawns and garden. So of those 4, venture a guess. What do you think? D. You guys are smart. Maybe we already gave you a clue, but yes, it's 150 to 500 gallons a day. Now that's a gross spread there, but some properties have leaks and they're over irrigating. So we'll talk about that, but good job on passing that test there, that quiz. So I'd like to kind of put this in perspective. One of the statements that I use often is all things are relative. Water isn't over here and energy's over here. By passing around that jug of water, you realize it weighs something. And it's not just magic that it falls out of your faucet. It takes a lot of energy to deliver that water. It takes a lot of energy to treat the water, on and on. So I like to point out that there's a lot more to it than just the water. There's energy involved. And so this concept of water and money and energy and sustainability are all woven together with today's topic of water. So it starts, the whole idea of doing something starts with a desire. Like, okay, I want to get out of bed, so I have to actually get out of bed. I want to save water, so you actually have to start thinking how to do that. So it starts with the desire and a want, and then you have to focus on that and practice that. So wasting water costs you money. And then on the concept of relativity, wasting water costs energy. And we're also talking a lot beyond water issues. We're talking about global warming and greenhouse gas issues. So when we're wasting water, we're also dealing with a byproduct of increased greenhouse gas emissions. So the whole idea is kind of pay attention, get focused, and practice these actions. So another quiz. We're not doing this all day on quizzes. Just a few up front to kind of get us rolling here. So which of the following indoors uses the most water? Toilets, dishwashers, leaks, showers, or faucets? Come on. Showers. Anybody else? Toilets. Showers and toilets. Toilets. Number one, 38 gallons on average. Here are the 5 big consumption silos. The biggest areas are toilets, showers, faucets, leaks, and clothes washers. And we've got a couple other small ones. We're going to go into detail on each of these items, these fixtures in your house, and talk about it. Data from the Aquacraft report. This is where a lot of the information that is in this presentation comes from. It's the California Single Family Water Use Efficiency Study. Not very sexy, but basically, what are Californians doing with their water? And where are they using it? How are they using it, etc.? What they say is 55, this is a very coincidental number. We didn't load this with this 55, but it keeps coming up. What their study says, this in-depth study says, Californians could save 55 gallons a day if they had a max, if their washing machine was at max 20 gallons per load, if we could eliminate 10% of our faucet use, if we could get rid of leakage down to 25 gallons a day, which seems kind of crazy, that's just, we're just dripping all over the place, or the maximum flush of a toilet would be 1.25 gallons. Now, I know, Chris, you asked me about that. Most low flush toilets are 1.28, but the report says 1.25. I don't know. It's either a typo or they meant that number. So if we did some of these things, we'd hit that goal. But that's on a statewide level. But so here again, same number, 55 gallons. So just kind of coincidental in that. So now we're going indoors. We're going to talk for the next many minutes on indoor water usage. So let's start with number 1. This is the highest water use center in your house. Uses approximately 21% of all of your water indoors. Here's the basic numbers. 38 gallons a day per household. On average, the flush is 2.76. Now let me talk about these numbers here, how we can get it down to 2.76 when in fact you might have a 1.5 gallon toilet. What they did for this study is they actually selected households and they put a device in the home. Some kind of fancy machine that could actually measure all the water use over a period of time in that residential unit. And it captured the data in some sort of electronic media. Then they would remove the machine, the gadget, and then they took that data and from all these homes that they surveyed, and they run it through this crazy software, and they're able to determine, based on water use on and off, these data points. So it's not exactly perfect, and they had to kind of make some assumptions, but this is interesting. Even if you have a low flow toilet, you may have more than one toilet in your house, and that other toilet that gets rarely used could be a high flow toilet. So it misses with these averages. So 2.7 gallons is the average flush. There's 13 in a household on average, but I like to think of it differently because the average residential number is 2.9 people per house. Well, I don't want to be a 0.9 person. I'm actually a 0.0, 1.0 person, I'm a whole person. So these 13 flushes are average. So the way I think about it is I'm responsible for 5 flushes a day. So I'm a 1.0. On average, there's 13, and we'll talk more about that. So here we go. Here's the basic definition of the different types of toilets. The old traditional high flow pre-90s, up to 5 gallons of flush. I don't know. I think we must have a better diet now. Our stuff must be lighter and fluffier because we can get rid of it with 1.28 gallons, and we needed a whole 5-gallon bucket to get rid of this stuff back in the 80s. So I don't know what's going on, but that's a whole lot of water to deal with our business. So then we went to ultra low flow, which was 1.6, and now we're actually, the icon is on there, but it actually says 1.28 is the number of gallons that we're using on the HET, the high efficiency toilets. The study shows that ultra lows are 2 to 2.5 gallons. On average, this is what's going on here are the flappers might be leaking, so that's something to look at. Or there may be different types of toilets in the house. We talked about that. You may have a variety of toilets, and so that's where we get a kind of a higher number and a broad range. The math here, 1 person, 1 year, 1 toilet, okay? So if it's the first one is 5 flushes per day. That's the average number. Each of us flush 5 times, times the number of gallons in your toilet, times the number of days in the year. Okay, so if you have a high flow, which is 3.5, I use just 3.5 as the base there, you're consuming 6,387.5 gallons of water. Ultra low, you're down, you jump really fast. You're now down to 2,920 gallons. And if you have a HET, you're down to 2,300 plus gallons. You can see significant savings by jumping down. Even to the ultra low flow, you're really saving a lot. So converting over your toilet is very important. What can you do? What actions? What can you do? So I throw some numbers at you. You think, well, so what can I do? What can I do about this? First of all, fix leaks. Just jiggling the handle doesn't make it go away, and we'll talk about that. Check your flapper. Check your tank level to make sure it's not overflow and running over the overflow spout. Don't use your toilet as a wastebasket, because then you look at that stuff and you go, oh, you don't like it, so then you flush it. So it's a superfluous, unnecessary flush. Install an HET if you can. Get a rebate. Contra Costa County Water District has a rebate. We'll talk about that. And then there's some freebies. We'll talk about that here shortly. So water-saving products. The first one isn't so useful now. These are these little flush bladders. You put them inside your tank and it displaces some of the water. The caveat on that is they're really only intended for 5 gallon, 3.5 and up, for big water tanks. If you put them in a low flow toilet, what happens is you've made up so much space that when you flush and get rid of your business, it doesn't do that, and you end up flushing again, so you're using more water. So you only want to use those on a high flush toilet, on a large capacity tank. Another idea is instead of having a flapper, you have a tipper, so this little thing here fills up with water, and then when you use the handle, it tips out. So you don't ever have a flapper to fail, you're literally just kind of tipping the bucket of water. Other options are dual flush mechanisms, where if it's just liquids, you do a half flush, and if you've got solids, you do a full flush. And they do sell kits installed so you can retrofit your toilet, and it gives you a new handle, and it's got the new guts, the new device inside. So if you want to do that, there are many products out there that allow you to do the dual flush. The rebate, $125 rebate. There are some requirements. It will run out by the end of the calendar year, so you want to get on that. It's available to residential, multifamily, and commercial. And some criteria, the toilet has to be pre-1994 or 94 or older, and it has to be a high consumer. It has to be 3.5 gallons and above. So you have to meet that criteria. The US EPA says that a family of 4 that replaces an older toilet with a WaterSense labeled product will on average save more than $90 per year, and over the lifetime, $2,000. So San Francisco has a clever campaign out right now on water savings. It's a little bit kind of naughty, provocative. For example, here you get paid for doing it. So that's what Water District is doing. They're paying you to do it. I'll be dropping these in as appropriate throughout this workshop, so I think that's kind of fun. So the freebies, one of them for the toilet are these little dye tabs. You drop it in the water tank, turns it blue, and then you kind of stand by. And if your bowl turns blue, then your flapper is leaking. Okay, so it's really easy. It's just like, you know, kind of an egg dye that you'd use for Easter, but you just drop it in and wait. And if it's blue, you've got a leak, so you need to deal with it. So the joke here, just jiggling the handle doesn't make it happen. You actually have to fix the problem. So now we're going to move on to showers. The numbers here. On average, people take 2 showers a day. That seems kind of a lot. We consume 18.6 gallons per shower. The average time is 8 minutes and 42 seconds. And on average, we're using 2.14 gallons per minute. Okay, so these are just the raw data points. What does that mean to us? 1 person, 1 year, 1 shower day. We're going to have to get you down to 1. So if you do the math on this, and the number is 18.6 gallons per shower times 365 days in the year, we're going to be consuming 6,789 gallons per year on our showers. So if we save 1 minute, we reduce our shower time by 1 minute, we're going to save 781 gallons. So it works out to be over 11% of your water consumption in the house is saved, or 11% of your shower water is saved. So it makes a difference. How you can save: shorter showers and water-saving shower heads. The water district's going to give you one. I just wanted to show you some examples. That you can get, if you want a different shape or size, they have different ones out on the marketplace. Today you're going to receive this one, and then there's this other one here. So there's different, and they're all under the WaterSense, the EPA-approved products that are low-flow shower heads. What can you do? Again, check for leaks. When you convert it from your faucet from the bathtub up to your shower, if it's dripping or running water, you're wasting water. You're not doing anything. It's just going right out of the spigot down the drain. Fix that. All right. Take shorter showers. Install low-flow shower heads. Fill a container. That gets a little awkward, but keep a bucket there if you really want to save and you've got a garden. Put a bucket, catch that water when it's going from cold to hot, and go water your flowers or your tomatoes. So there's a way to do that. And then install one of these quick shower turn-off valves. One of the bits that I did read on that is, depending on how old your plumbing is, and I've experienced it myself, if I turn the water down low or even off and soap up or do whatever, and then I turn it back on, it can come out scalding hot or what we think is ice cold, and that can actually be a danger to you. You can actually be shocked and fall and hurt yourself. So you want to be careful on installing those and test them out, and don't fall trying to save water. We don't want any injuries while saving water. So here we go. Make it a quickie. Save some water. Less time in the shower. And here's some of your freebies that the Water District is offering you. Again, we talked about this low-flow shower head, and then a timer, a 4-minute timer. So you can just, pay attention to that. The average is 8 minutes, so you'd have to turn that thing over twice to meet the state average. So faucets. Faucets are another high water user. They're about 19% of your indoor water consumption. On average, we're using 33 gallons a day. It's quite a bit. We have 57 events. We turn a faucet on 57 times throughout the day. The total use time is 35 minutes. It's almost like about a gallon per minute, roughly. The average time is 37 seconds per event. Each event equals about 1.1 gallons. And then we're using 0.7 gallons per event. So let's look at this in a different way. 1 house, 1 year, 37 events a day. Those are the bases. So what we're asking you to do is to shorten your use time by a few minutes a day. On average, we're using 14,000 plus gallons just turning on and off the faucet. If we could reduce that 35-minute use time by 5 minutes, we'd save over 2,000 gallons. That's like 40, 55-gallon drums. It's a lot of water by just being a little more aware, kind of the zen of the faucet. Just turn that thing off. Let's not make it 37 seconds. Let's make it 27 seconds or whatever. Just little bits here and there add up. How can you do it? What actions can you take? Again, repair leaks. If it's dripping at the faucet, fix it. If it's dripping on the handle lever there, fix it, all right? Install these low flow aerators. You're going to receive one of those today. Avoid running water. We know these things, but we just need to employ these actions. Don't let the water run when you're brushing your teeth or shaving or whatever you do. Another one, don't thaw using running water. Here's the trick. If you have a non-stick skillet, those are made of cast aluminum. Aluminum is very conductive. If you take one of your skillets and you put your thing that you want to thaw on there, and just give yourself half an hour, and if you really need to speed it up, take another non-stick skillet and put it on top of that thing you want to thaw, and it will thaw really fast, all right? And then again, catch any water in the basin and go water your landscape with that. Now we're going to talk about clothes washers. The numbers here, on average we do a load a day. It's pretty amazing, at 36 gallons a load. So I know some of you say, well, I'm not doing that, but somebody else is. So for every load you're not doing, they're doing 2 to make up for your 1 that you're not doing. The math, 36 gallons a load, 7 loads a week. If you can just get rid of 1 load a week, you're going to be saving 1,872 gallons. That's a lot of water. So always make sure that the loads are full and have fewer of them. It's really important. And get one of those high efficiencies. The Water District, again, is rewarding you. They have a $200 rebate on these Energy Star Most Efficient and ESME model. So $200, $50 rebate to install an energy efficient 3-tier. All of this information, by the way, any of these rebates or the freebies can be found on the Water District website. So you can just go there. It's really easy to navigate. So there's a lot of money and a lot of freebies. Leaks. This is another one of the 5 major silos of water wasting in your house. On average, the average household is just dripping away 31 gallons a day. It's a lot of water. It's like, 2/3 of that 55-gallon drum just from this leak right here. So the first thing is try to find out if you have a leak. There's 2 basic types of leaks. There's an intermittent, which could be that toilet flapper leak that just kind of leaks. It doesn't leak every time, so you use it, it leaks a little bit, then use it again, it doesn't leak, and then you use it. So it's one of these intermittent things. Or just dripping faucets. It continuously could be a broken valve outside that's kind of running a little bit the whole time. Or a leaky pipe, and I've got some good images. Of course, we've all seen a leaky pipe, but this one looks like it's been leaking for a long time. Drip, drip, drip. It's doing this all day long. That's how you get up to that 31 gallons a day. And then here, how long did it take for that pipe to build that green patina there? A long time. These are where these numbers are coming from. So people think, oh, that's not me, but you don't know unless you investigate. So you wanna find out where your leaks are. You need to put on your little sleuth hat and go find these leaks. So one of the things here is look for leaky valves, like in the shower, if it's dripping there. Whenever you turn on a faucet outside, look for these things. Look at your flapper here. Here's a good image right here. See that flapper? It's all crinkly on the edge. That thing should be flat, and it's not. So for whatever reason, it's folding up, and so that thing is leaking all the time or intermittently. And then how do you read your meter? If you go and find your water meter, and there's ways to look at, and that little red star to the left, if that thing is moving, if you've shut down everything, there's nothing on in your house, so you think, and you come and look at that little thing's moving, you've got a leak somewhere. The last bit of the 100%, don't use a lot of water. They add up to 5%. Baths, dishwashers, and other, okay? Baths, they basically say they're kind of decadent. Take one now and then, enjoy it, but if you want to save water, you got to take a shower. Dishwashers, they don't use much water. They're much more efficient in terms of water saving than hand washing. Make sure the load is full. Don't just be lazy and just want to wash it because you want that one bowl. If you need that one bowl, hand wash that and then wait to fill up your unit. And then other events, remember I told you they put some device on the house to measure your water? These other things they couldn't quite identify as a continuous leak or as a flush of a toilet, so they're put in this category of others. And so if you're more curious, you can go back to that Aquacraft report and read some of those 288 pages to find out. So here's something, a poster can't save water, nor can the brochures or any of the pamphlets or any of the propaganda that you can read anywhere. but you can save water. So that's the point. You can save water by taking action. All right, we're moving from the indoors. We're going to go outside and talk about irrigation and landscape water use. These are really, of the pie chart, this is where most of your water is being used. Great opportunities exist for water saving outside. The US EPA has identified 3 primary areas to focus on, things to think about or target: landscaping, irrigation, and managing stormwater rain barrels. Back to the state of California, their findings. Reduce irrigated areas. This is the best way to save water if you do these basic things. These are high-level concepts. We're going to drill down here. Reduce your irrigated areas. Encourage the use of water-intensive plants. This is really what they're saying is use, drought-tolerant plants. Don't use hungry plants. And find ways to prevent over-irrigation. Now here's which you'll find on the Contra Costa Water District's website, the no-no list, okay? So a lot of this we're going to just kind of say it out loud. Don't water during the day. Don't water after 9, from 9 to 5, during your business hours, don't water, okay? Don't water or overwater to where water's running down the gutter. That's like a no-brainer, duh. If it's running down the gutter, don't do it. Don't wash your vehicle without a control top, hose, a control nozzle, or a bucket. You just don't let it run freely. Again, don't wash your pavement. And if you have a fountain or whatever, it has to be recirculating. It can't just be single use. And if you have a decorative pond, you might want to take a time out on that during the drought. So, does your landscape have a drinking problem? Most of them do. Here you can see some puddling water. It's a great example, a great image of somebody that just isn't paying attention, and this is probably being auto-watered several times a week like this. It can damage the root. You can get all kinds of problems, not to mention just a whole lot of water being wasted. 6 steps to a water-efficient yard and garden. This is brought to you by the Save Our Water, which is the state of California's website. And they've got some good information there. By the way, all the references that I'm making throughout today's presentation, I'm going to cite at the end on a whole kind of laundry list of all these sources that you can go to. You can spend hours on these websites. It's really interesting if you find it so to drill down in some of these places. So again, appropriate plant selection. Use the right plant for the soil that you have. So don't try to, depending on your pH or your soil conditions, don't keep, if the plant keeps dying over and over, maybe you want to get a different plant. So I must have one there. Maybe you don't. Get something else. Okay. Limit your lawn size. That's your biggest opportunity. Good, efficient irrigation. We're going to go all over this. Use mulch whenever possible. This is one of my favorite things, and we're really going to talk about that as we get deeper into this. And then appropriate maintenance, which means make sure everything's working right. Make sure there's no drips and all that sort of stuff. So mulch. I don't know. How many people have a compost pile right now? Excellent. Congratulations, and thank you for doing that. Well, mulch does include compost, and one of the great things about using compost or mulch is, first off, it helps keep the weeds down. Who doesn't want that? Who wants to spend their day pulling weeds? Prevents soil compaction, makes it more alive and friable. Keeps your soil temperatures down, lower, and it promotes healthy conditions in biology. So just putting some bark on top of your soil has all these positive effects. And it can look handsome too. So it doesn't have to be anything unsightly. And there's many different types of mulch out there. There's colorized. You can use pine needles. If you've got an evergreen tea, you can use those pine needles. People say, what about the pH? Well, if you've got a pine tree, you've already got acidic soil because that's the condition that you're in. So then you don't go and plant something that doesn't like acid soil. That's what that other point was talking about. And the pine needles are great, and they don't rot fast, so they'll stay in place for a long time. That's just an example of how to use what you have at your own disposal. Composting is fantastic. If you don't have a compost bin, get one. If you don't know how to compost or you need some techniques, come to one of the free workshops that the City of Martinez offers several times throughout the year. They're very informative, and often high quality, low price compost bins are available. Helps create good soil structure and reduces the amount of water that's necessary. My favorite point right here is the last one. By only increasing the amount of organic matter, in other words, putting some compost in just by 5%, you can quadruple the soil's ability to hold water. It's like when you get one of those little plastic sponges, little pink rubbery sponges, and they're dry and they weigh nothing. And then you get them wet and then you wring them out. They still have water in there for a long time. That's what compost does. It holds on to that water for a long time, which means then you don't need to water as often, which it saves water and money. So xeriscape, kind of a fancy word, kind of, oh boy, oh, I'm doing xeriscape. Xeriscape. Okay, well, it's just a fancy phrase for planting drought tolerant, or here's the list: water conserving landscapes, drought tolerant landscaping, smartscaping, California friendly, bay friendly. It's just not planting something that's high water in a drought environment, and California is that way. So just here's some good examples of it. Right there, just some handsome mulch and some drought tolerant native flowers. Looks handsome, they're beautiful. Some of these scapes, here they're using rock instead of some organic matter as your ground cover with some succulent or cacti in there. And then this is really colorful here, a lot of different flowers. And you see that they've got a little bit of lawn, which they're enjoying in the back or on the side there, but they're definitely minimal use on the water right there. Another rebate from the Water District is to convert your lawn to a garden, $1 per square foot up to $1,000. So that's pretty good. So they're paying you off to do the right thing. Again, water deeply and infrequently. Most of us have heard this, but this is really true. And an off and on cycle for the day of watering. In the summer, it says you can get away with every 3 times a week, 3 days a week. And on mature, healthy plants, only 2 days a week. One of my favorite plants of all time is a manzanita. It's definitely a native to California. They're beautiful. They're kind of interesting in their shapes. They've got a beautiful red color, and they're absolutely drought tolerant. You don't have to water them ever. They get their rain in the wintertime, and that's all they need. So, and plants that are hardy and strong don't even hardly need to be watered at all. Be sure and adjust, if you do have any controllers, adjust the length of the duration of water during the cooler and shorter days. Hand watering is best. There's all kinds of fancy technology available in terms of devices and timers, but statistics show that if you take the nozzle and you water it, you're not going to be wasting any water relative to the other options that you have. So it's the most efficient way of watering, and it's the least expensive way of watering, a hose and a nozzle. Nothing sophisticated about that. Little maintenance is required. You know, make sure it doesn't leak at the faucet setting. Quick releases are really a handy way to do this. And they take the one major negative is it takes a little more. It takes time. You have to go out there and physically do that. But instead of sitting in front of a TV show, maybe you spend 20 minutes with your garden a few days a week. Always use a nozzle, okay? Just some common sense. Use soaker hoses and drip irrigation systems. Drip is really, after manual watering, just your basic simple drip system is your most efficient way of watering. Use quick releases, attach a timer valve. The quick releases really make it easier for you to change your devices and your watering systems. Get satisfied in the garden. So there's your San Francisco ad. Drip systems are really easy. A few years ago, I had an outside garden, and I'd been wanting to do a drip system. But I didn't do it because I was afraid. I thought it was really hard to do. And so for a couple of years I didn't do it, and I was a slave in the hottest days. I had to get out there and not worry about, and was worried about my tomato plants dying or whatever. Then for whatever reason, I just said, heck, I'm just gonna go, and I just spent like 20 or 30 bucks. I'm just gonna buy this stuff and force myself to do it. It wasn't that expensive, and it's really not that hard. The little device to punch holes, and you snap the gizmos in there. Next thing you know, you've got a drip system, so it's not complicated. And you can do it for really cheap. These things can be like $15 to $25. It's a battery-operated thing, and it plugs right into your faucet system, your hose system, so it can be in line. You don't have to have any hard wiring, so you don't have to do any electrical stuff. You don't have to dig any lines or anything. You just put that gizmo on your hose system and plug that into a drip system, and now you've got an automatic system with the timer. So you can go really low tech, low budget on these things and benefit by being efficient with your water and your time. Why to do it? Instead of getting everything wet and maybe some of those leaves will mildew, By watering directly at the source, at the plant, you're going to prevent disease. You're going to also minimize excess weed growth, because instead of watering everything, including the weeds, you're only going to be watering the plant. So it's just logical. Saves time and water. We just went over that. And it's less work and maintenance. A simple drip system is a lot easier than a more sophisticated, trenched, automatic irrigated system. We've got technology at our fingertips right here. This little device, you can see it there on the left, is a rain sensor. It's smart enough to know, and it's wired into your timing system. So when it rains, it'll override your system. So that's kind of the old high tech. And now we've got some smart timers, some smart controllers that actually talk to the satellite, and they know what your specific local weather is where you live, and will override your pre-programming. So you get one of these things, and it helps you out when you can't turn it on or off. You don't need one of those rain shut-off devices if you've got a smart controller, because the smart controller does what that auto rain device would do. Save water and money. Here's another one of these opportunities for you. The EPA says that one of these devices can save 8,800 gallons a year. So when installed and used properly, they can save a household a lot of money. Here we go. It's a weather-based irrigation system, smart controllers, more accurate, customized irrigation by automatically adjusting the schedule. So that's how this works. Saves a lot of time and water. The fine print. Here's what legal said. Can you guys read that? Yeah, it's just like at the end of those commercials where they talk really fast and you don't know what this thing causes all these. So here's my take on that. Savings may vary. Water wasters will gain the most savings because they are. Still requires attention. These aren't magic. If they're leaking, you've got to fix that leak, so you've got to attend to them. May result in increased water usage. If you're not setting your timer right, you may actually use more water than you did before, and when you get your bill, you may get a headache and nausea. So you have to set these things up right. Consult your owner's manual for proper use, and batteries are not included. Get one of these meters, replace your dumb controllers with a smart controller, and the water district has a rebate on this, right? So you again go to their website and find out all the details on how you can get some money back on buying one of these controllers. It does require some interaction with staff there at the district. You have to have a residential water use evaluation or assessment. They come out and check out your property. Once you pass their evaluation, then they will have you install one of these smart systems. So they come out, they review your landscape and your water use practices. They identify any inefficient practices or leaking fixtures, whatnot. They provide you with recommendations. They teach you how to read your meter. Remember I showed you that image of the meter? They'll actually show you how to get into that box and read that. It's not that hard. Mostly, it's, since you've never done it, it's a little scary, but once you've done it once, you have the confidence to go in there and do it again. You can go on to the Martinez website or onto the Water District website and see a little video on how to read your meter. One of the other areas that we can spend some water on or lose water, mostly to evaporation, are our entertainment water features, features being pools and hot tubs and spas. Always put a cover on that. Tremendous amount of evaporation happens with those things uncovered. And so then you have to go and fill them back up. So you can lose a lot of water. Repair any leaks. And so if you've gone and you've determined that there's no leaks in the house, but the meter's still running, you may have something going on with your spa or your pool. And so you want to fix that. Shut down any unnecessary fountains. They're really nice, but you have excessive evaporation when those things are running. And by the way, you don't get to have any fun anymore. No splashing, no shenanigans, okay? Stop it. I mean, really, that's what it said, so I put it up there, but they really said you can waste a lot of water. I don't know, go ahead and waste a tiny bit of water. Smile, but then don't flush anymore the rest of the day. Okay? Show me the money. This is a kind of a refresher on all the rebates and some of the freebies that we have and haven't talked about. So rebates that are available to you. High efficiency toilet rebate, $125. High efficiency clothes washers, $200. Lawn to garden rebate, up to $1,000, $1 per square foot. Smart sprinkler timer reimbursements. That's that smart controller, 12 stations, $20 per station. More details on the website on that smart controller. Commercial rebates are also available, so if you know somebody or own your own company, this is a great opportunity. Again, washers, high efficiency toilets for the commercial, urinals. If you have a restaurant and you're doing any pre-rinsing, they have sprayers, a water broom, which is a fancy broom with water jets that's more efficient than just using a broom and spraying water on the sidewalk or whatever. Cooling tower meters and irrigation equipment rebates. Again, more on the website. Freebies. You can get that free home evaluation. Even if you're not going to put in a smart controller, you can still have somebody come out and give an eval. You've got your free timer for the showers, your shower head, your swiveling kitchen aerator, your bathroom aerator, faucet aerator. You get a free nozzle for your yard and garden, and then your little dye pack. So there's some free stuff out there. And then almost free, there's a lot of coupons out there for local gas stations. You go to the website and you can download or print out these coupons so you can get a discount on going to an environmentally friendly car wash station. And then some local nurseries and landscape companies are selling mulch at a discount. So again, we're trying to give you all the tools to save money and free advice. You can always call and talk to somebody like Chris or other people on staff. They're anxious to help, and the website is just loaded with lots of tips and advice as well. So here, top 10 plus items or action areas that you can do that add up to make a difference. Common sense stuff, repeating what we've gone over, but here you go. Indoors, reduce the number of flushes per day. So just one less time will make a big difference. Take shorter showers. Reduce the amount of faucet use time. So just try to cut down on the 35 minutes a day. Fix all leaks. That's just, you got to fix the leaks. And reduce the number of loads by one a week, and you'll start saving significant amount, or two if for that matter. Outside, maintain a water-friendly, California-friendly landscape. Put in drought-tolerant plants. Reduce or eliminate the size of your lawn. Fix all leaks again. Again, get rid of those leaks. Reduce the number of days that you're watering. That's a really big opportunity right there. Water only in the evening or early in the morning or at night. Okay, not during the day. Avoid overwatering. This is really huge. It's just a big, adjust your sprinklers and make sure those sprinklers aren't leaking or overspraying or running too long. Water by hand is really your best water saving option outside. And then, of course, using a simple drip system. So a combo would be simple drip system and watering by hand, and you're really going to save a lot of water and be the most efficient with your outside use. And, of course, take advantage of all those freebies and rebates that are being offered to you. And here is the fine print list of all the resources that I gathered information for our presentation today. So first, start local. The City of Martinez has great information on their website, and you can use keywords, or the services section of their website is a great place to start. And under the services header, you'll find sustainability resources and climate action plan and recycling and refuse resources under the services section. So go to the Martinez website, great place. Of course, the Contra Costa Water District has all this information on rebates and tips and all that. The report that I cited is the Aquacraft California Single Family Water Use Efficiency Study. Great report. And then we're kind of expanding the state of California. A couple of, really one of my favorite sites was this H2O house. I don't really know how to say it, but it's really good. It's loaded. It's kind of an interactive website. It moves you around, and you can zero in on the bathroom or on outside. It gives you all to how to and fix-it tips and suggestions. Really powerful website. I love that one. The Water Sense, which is the EPA's website, very robust website. You could spend hours on the EPA website if you're into it. A good resource library to find even more information is this Alliance for Water Efficiency's resource library, a mouthful. But go to that URL, that website, and you can just put in keywords on their search engine, and it'll give you a laundry list of all kinds of printed documents, things that are on the web, or it's just really robust. And then this Home Waterworks has a do-it-yourself calculator and more tips. So right there, you've got some tremendous resources that can reinforce what we've covered today. And I want to thank you for your time. I hope you've learned something, and I hope you're going to be able to take advantage of these actions and be part of the solution to saving water here in Martinez and in Contra Costa County. Thank you. The question is, if you're not sure what type, how old's your toilet, or how much water the toilet is using, how can you find out?
So when you call Contra Costa Water District to get a rebate application, we're going to look up two things. We're going to look up the age of your home, and we're going to look up to see if you ever got a rebate from us before. If the answer to those two are positive, meaning the house is older than 94 and you never got a rebate, then you're eligible. It doesn't matter what it is.
Another part to that answer is on some toilets, it'll actually be stamped right behind the toilet seat. They'll stamp it on there, particularly on the newer ones. So you can see it'll say like 1.6. It'll say 1.28. If it doesn't have a number, it's very likely. If it doesn't have a number and you think it's pretty old, then it is, and it's going to be a high flow.
Right.
Okay?
So to know what your toilet is, he's exactly right. And you can lift the tank lid off, and sometimes it's stamped on the inside of the tank lid or the inside of the tank. There'll be an actual stamp embossed into the ceramic. But to be clear, for the rebate, don't do that. Just call us, and we're going to see if your house is older than 94 and if you've ever, I should say, if your house ever got a rebate before. Because we don't want to have the honest people say, yeah, I looked and it's old. And so we just basically made it objective there. So
the question is the use of water to wash your fruits and vegetables and cleaning them. Is that right? So using water to clean your fruits and vegetables, and is that a high water use area? Well, it depends if you're letting the water run the whole time or how fast you're letting the water run. That's one thing. And certainly getting dirt or making sure that the fruits and vegetables you're going to eat are sanitary or safe to eat. That's important. You can put a tub or basin and catch that water and then go water your plants. So you're not really wasting the water. We'll call it makeup water for what, and if you're hand watering outside, then that just makes up some of the watering you do at a later point. So it's rescuing, yes.
Yeah, and sometimes you can take that water and save it, like he said, in a bucket or in a pot. And when you're doing the dishes, I like to pre-rinse some things, and I use that bucket, that pot, so I'll rinse them that way. And then you've got one dirty tub, and that goes down.
Yeah, so it's just kind of thinking it through. Okay, my agenda is to save as much water as I can. How can I capture some water and use that as in many ways as efficiently and as long as possible?
Yeah, if you have multiple uses for it, then you've eliminated that other use.
And you're starting to really cut into that minutes per day, gallons per day of the faucet, because that's your second highest use area is the faucet. Another question in the back? Yes. The question is, if I live in an apartment, what can I do as an apartment dweller, and should I talk to the landlord, or what should I tell the landlord that's happening in my apartment?
Yeah, there's a couple things for an apartment, and especially if you're a tenant there, you can get to your landlord. They can save a lot of money if they participate in a couple of our programs. First one is have us come out and do a water audit. We'll evaluate the entire site's water use, both landscape and indoor. If we check and we see that the toilets are older, they can get a rebate for all of the toilets. We've got some apartments. I've got one apartment complex that has done 1,200 toilets, okay? $125 per toilet. They actually bought them in bulk. We gave them a $100 rebate. That paid for the entire toilet because they got them in bulk costs. So he could do all of the toilets for the apartment. We can go through the landscape, and we can check that out. And we have a number of rebates there. And we can work with their landscaper and kind of educate them how to manage their water better. It's really important, and if you're not paying the water bill, some tenants won't be as efficient because they're not paying for that bill. So your property owner, the apartment owner, should have an interest in this. So definitely contact us. We can come out and contact him, and we can get together.
Yeah, in terms of being a tenant and not paying for your water, the truth is we're all paying for that. You're going to pay for it one way or another. If all of a sudden all the tenants are using a lot of water, well, the landlord's just going to bump your rent whenever the time is appropriate. As far as things you can do, if there's a leak, and sometimes it's just, you just turn the screw or tighten something. So you can be proactive and fix those leaks instantly. The other thing is on the toilet rebate, I work with some buildings in San Francisco, and one thinks that, you know, it's 2014. We'd think 1994 is old. Well, I just talked with a tenant manager, or a property manager, and they just replaced toilets from a building from 1987. These were 5-gallon per flush units, huge water use, and now they're at 1.28 or even less than that. Yeah. So they're going to be benefiting instantly on water savings and directly reflected in their water bill. So there's always an opportunity, whether you're a homeowner or a renter or commercial. Saving water, everybody wins.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for your questions. Appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.